shift the way you lead, the way you live. Clarity, courage, change. Because your next level won't wait. This is Monday MindShift. The clarity you've been craving. The shift you didn't know you needed. Well, it looks like we are having some issues with technicals. I started the stream and it won't connect to LinkedIn. And so now I'm restarting it. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't see anything happening on LinkedIn. And I don't see any viewers anywhere else. So I'm not sure what's going on. Let's see. I don't know if we're going. It shows we're live. So I do see it's live on LinkedIn. And I don't know if it's on YouTube or what. I see people joining. Apologize for the technical issues. I was testing new software, but it doesn't seem to like to connect to LinkedIn. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but I'd really like to use the software because it just fits and I get more destinations from it, so I can go to LinkedIn, Substack, etc. But with this, I get YouTube and LinkedIn right now. And the other thing is I get higher video quality. Everything is better. So I'm not sure how to, get this worked out. I'll get it worked out. I'm a tech guy, so I can figure this out. Anyway, welcome if you're joining. Feel free to drop a comment that let me know you're here and where you're watching from, because that's the only way I know. I see, the tools show me that somebody's watching, but I don't know who or anything. So drop your comments. If you're watching the replay, let me know. I always like to call out people and recognize people that are watching. So I'm Sean Michael, the Identity Disruptor, and I'm here to share with you about this is season 4, the Identity Blindspot series, and even like changing my notes to a different screen, I lost it. So I don't know. This is a pain in the butt, but this is life. We just roll with it, right? We could get stressed, but I would say I'm too blessed to be stressed. So let me go get that notes on this episode. Still just see one person. Not sure who it is. Oh, 2 people. Glad to have you here. Thank you for stopping in. Thank you for taking the time out of your day and being here with me. I'm going to give it a few more minutes while I get my notes in a better place, because they were somewhere else, ready for a different setup, and at the last minute I had to switch to this setup. So as usual, I'm modeling what I teach about just kind of letting go of the stuff that stresses us out and causes us pain and suffering. Oh, do I see? Let's see. Leslie, thank you for being here. Interestingly, it's not showing up on my. Okay, I got to figure out two events. So I see the one. Okay, now I see that. Very strange. Yeah, the original one, there was some kind of failure, and this one I went live, and that's probably why there's only a few people here, because it's a technical glitch. So, oh, it doesn't even let me join. Weird. It just shows it as like a live stream, but oh, there it goes. Okay. Let me see if I can get that notification out to everybody else so that we can get everybody here. Because the other one, as far as I can see, the other one isn't showing up live. It shows starting soon, but that one will not start because there was a glitch. All right. And I'm going to send it in someplace. Let's see, event management. There's the one. Let's get this. Oh, that's not the one I want. Oh, this is, there we go. Okay. Thank you for your patience, Leslie, and whoever's watching alongside. Thankfully, I was able to do this because it's probably not going to work in the future. Because I know there's the issue with LinkedIn's changing the rules. All right. Get that all taken care of. This is tech. What can you do? It is what it is, right? All right. I sent you a message to Leslie. I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not sure why the app, because the app has the connect to LinkedIn and that works. But as soon as I go to live, it says cannot connect to LinkedIn. I'm not sure why. I'm going to have to do a test run. Thanks, Leslie. I just saw your message in the carousel group, and I put it on the comments on the original event. So hopefully that gets us squared away. Hope you're doing well, Leslie, and whoever else is watching. Bill is here. Hey, Bill, welcome. Glad you made it. Um, tech issues. I was trying to get it to where I could actually stream to Substack and LinkedIn didn't want to work, Bill. So what are you going to do? Just roll with it, right? We just kind of have to roll with life as it comes, and take it in stride. What can I do? It is what it is. Anyway, I don't want to sit here and gibby gabby all day. I do have a few people, and of course we're recording, so the replay will be live. So this is episode 4 of the Identity Blindspot series. If you remember, in episode 1, we talked about when your ambition is coming from your pain, and we identified the prover. Episode 2, we talked about our ceiling on receiving, and we revealed the striver. In episode 3, we talked about how sometimes worth is tied to our usefulness, and we identified the helper. Today, it might get a little uncomfortable because this is for those that think they're doing the inner work, and it might reveal something they're not ready to address. So this episode is about, it's for those that are self-aware, the people who are already sharing, they're sharing their openness, they have embraced, accepted vulnerability because they know vulnerability builds trust. And that is what makes this the hardest blind spot to see. When you share something personal in a leadership context, ask yourself, who are you trying to reach? And who are you trying to look like? Jackie, you made it. Great. Welcome. So first I want to label the pattern or identify the pattern. This is how performed vulnerability starts. A leader learns early that openness builds connection. When they admit imperfection, trust grows. The personal story lands better than that polished presentation. It's true. All of that is true. So they continue to use it. But over time, that sharing starts to become rehearsed. Their origin story finds a rhythm, and disclosure becomes timed. What started out genuine turns into a tool. Here's the key distinction. Genuine vulnerability is a byproduct of security. It's not your strategy for connection. The content may be real, but the motivation shifts. And that shift, that's the blind spot. I see there are 3 main archetypes in this realm, in this pattern. The first that I'm sharing today is a speaker whose origin story is word perfect on every stage. That live moment started becoming a production. Or maybe the executive whose "I'm not perfect" disclosures start showing up more calculated instead of real. The team feels it, but they might not be able to name it. Or a coach who models vulnerabilities in ways that it always somehow just serves their position. It never really costs them anything visible. There's a core paradox here. The leader learns that strategic openness builds trust and influence. So that openness becomes a tool. And the very authenticity that they're performing from starts to become a wall that blocks their content with others. And there are two things happening simultaneously. The struggle's real, the content's genuine, the story is true. The problem is their delivery is managed, they choose their timing, and it's all focused on impressing the audience. Now, I would say there are three tests to tell whether it's genuine authenticity or performed vulnerability. That was what we're talking about. Real openness carries a big risk. You can't manage that risk. If the sharer is not absorbing any risk, it's probably not true vulnerability. If you're not taking on some risk by sharing, it's not really vulnerability. Ask yourself, could this disclosure hurt me in this room? And if your answer is no, it's probably a performance. The next one is the audience test. Performed vulnerability always keeps the audience in mind. So before you share, who do you imagine is receiving it? Is there a specific person you want to reach? Is there a certain impression you're trying to create? If your answer reveals whether it's real or performed. And the third test is the repetition test. Genuine moments don't follow the script. If you hear the same story the same way every time, there's no soul left in it. It's just become content. So I want to say leaders who perform openness often do so because genuine transparency feels genuinely unsafe. This is worth sitting with because true transparency is going to be a little scary. Absolutely, Bill. It should scare you. If it scares you and there's a risk, that's genuine. All right. So I still include our two-chair dialogue here. Leaders can have two identities within themselves. One that's learned to use openness as a tool of influence, and the other is truly capable of something that costs them. So in our two-chair exercise, as you said, if you haven't heard this before, as we've said, if you haven't seen this before or heard this before, this is a mental exercise, a visualization exercise, but it can also be done physiologically. So you can Imagine two chairs and the two sides of yourself in the chairs, or you can actually sit in one chair and take on the one identity and sit in the other chair to take on the second. So in chair number one is the performer. This identity of you is not cynical. It genuinely wants some connection. However, and it learned, that version learned that sharing creates connection. So it learns to share strategically, somehow believing that the motivation is pure. Listen to how that version speaks before a disclosure. This will help them trust me. If I share this, they will see I'm human. The story always lands well here. I need them to know I've been through hard things too. Here's the prompt. Ask yourself this question. The personal story I share most often in leadership contexts, what does it protect me from having to share instead? And I'll drop that in the chat so everybody can refer back to it at any time. The personal story I share most often in leadership contexts, what does sharing it protect me from having to share instead? I want you to honor this identity. It's generated trust and influence. Those aren't fabricated. But take the time to name the cost, because those closest to you, they feel the difference between performance and connection. If you lead a team, they sense managed disclosure. That managed disclosure will create a subtle but a real distance. In chair number 2 is the one who can actually be known. They don't manage impression. That version tolerates the risk of being seen without any idea of how the sharing will land. It speaks differently. Before it shares, it might sound like this. I don't know how this will land. This might make me look less capable. I'm sharing this because it's true right now, not because it serves the narrative. I have no idea if this helps or hurts. So the prompt that goes with this identity: what is something true about my current experience that I have not shared in a leadership context because it doesn't fit the story I'm building? Once again, what is something true about my current experience that I've not shared in a leadership context because it doesn't fit the story I'm building? To integrate this, the goal is not to stop the sharing. What we want to achieve is to notice when the sharing becomes management instead of true presence. The test isn't what you share, it's the why. And as I said before, it's could this share carry actual risk? When performed vulnerability runs unchecked, teams feel the gap between the real version of their leader and the performed disclosed version. They might not be able to name it, but they will respond to it. Engagement will be just surface level. They won't bring real problems. Your audience will feel the polish and take it as distance. Then the actual openness that you were trying to embody to close a gap actually widens it. And as a leader, you lose access to genuine reflection. Your story becomes your identity, and your present experience has no place to land. The real cost, it's not your reputation, it's contact, it's connection. The quality of that connection in your leadership gets very thin. Everything is up at the surface level of managed impression. So once again, when you share something personal in a leadership context, who are you trying to reach and who are you trying to look like? Your answers to those questions, if they're the same person, that's presence. If they're different, that's performance. That gap, that's the work. So my last two prompts. You absolutely have, Bill. I haven't caught all your lives, but yeah, nobody's more raw than Bill. He's got it all out there for anyone and everyone. And the key here is it's about motivation. Like, why are you sharing it? Are you sharing it to actually be more present, to connect? You don't want to be emotional vomiting. That's what I call it. People sharing something that has no place in the current environment. Vulnerability is being real, like, hey, this is what's happening right now. Like at the beginning of the show. Sorry to give you a new link, and everybody that signed up didn't get notified, or they got the notification that it was live or ready, it was time, and they got there and there's nothing there. It happens. And I know that's that's a minor thing. Or previous shows where I was late because I was not paying attention to the time. I was helping my son. That's real. That's in the moment. I'm not sharing it to get some impression, or it's I'm being real. So your final two prompts from this coverage: the story I tell most often about myself, what does it let me avoid telling? So by releasing that version of your story, what is it protecting you from actually being honest about? And what is true about where I am right now that I've not said out loud to anyone in a leadership context? Again, we're not talking about just dumping everything. This is part of emotional intelligence, knowing it's the right time to share your vulnerability. And that you're sharing that vulnerability from a genuine motivation, not some performance, because you saw that when you got vulnerable, it built connection, it built trust. All right, let me go back and look. Let's see. William's been very active. Coach Carrie, welcome, and Jackie. Glad to see everybody there, or everybody here. So, Coach Carrie says, stories are real and managed delivery can adversely impact connections. Definitely. Performed vulnerability, it looks good from the outside, but it actually is widening the gap that you thought you were closing. Yeah, good call out, Coach Carey. Same story over and over again. It's just the content. Hey, it worked. Let's repeat it. This is not going to fit. So Bill says, I've shared more than I ever expected to. Each time a little more comes out. He shares that he's been guarded, but he's feeling freer today than he ever has. And that's a good point, Bill. You know, sharing the good as well as the struggles. And the power in that is when we share our struggles, then others can see that I'm not alone. Bill says, in the office, I shared less personal. How many leaders in a workplace put the mask on that everything's okay? I'm never going to share any of my struggles. Like Jackie, we're thankful. I'm sure your shares have touched others. Yeah, a moment doesn't define our identity, Bill. But we have to remember that. We have to remind ourselves that that's true. Good morning, Omar. Welcome. And then definitely widen the gap. All right, so this is the point where I go ahead and open it up. If anybody's willing to come on stage, share, as always, video not required. I think it brings something, but I know not everybody's video ready at any given time or period. So is there anything anybody wants to bring and share or discuss further? Let me get the link right here. Drop it in the chat. Drop it over here. Not that anybody's watching from YouTube right now. And whoops, don't want that yet. Bill, yay.
Oh, am I on?
You're on, bro.
Well, there's two different things you're talking about, Sean. So I took it two different ways. So in the office, I'm transparent and I'm authentic, but I don't share as much of my personal story than I have on my podcast. And my podcast, I share all of the beautiful places I've been, but I also share that in 2008, I lost everything and then I grew it back. And right now, I've lost everything, but there's hope that I can grow it back. And so sharing my story, oh, and also I'm focused on not letting this moment be the moment that defines me. So this moment is not Bill. This moment is a moment. That's what that is.
Right. It's a
Um,
blip on the
on the
greater
scale. Yeah.
scale.
And I feel like when sharing it, it allows people not only to say, I'm going through that too, but also to recognize that life can change in a day and to hold on because there's been some days this year that I'm just like, I don't know if I can go. I just can't take it. It's life is throwing too much at me. And I give it a minute and the whole thing flips and changes. And that's the story that I want to share with people. That's what I want people to get out of it. That their feelings are real, but it's just a second. And the longer you let that second live, the worse it will get. And
Well,
I've seen
and
improvement in my mindset.
right. And that highlights a perfect point, Bill, is not to discount what's happening in the moment, but what makes us feel down isn't it's our thoughts about what's happening. Agreed? Like
Yep.
you said, mindset. If I try something and it fails, I can go, oh, I'm a failure, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to get really depressed. Or I can say, hey, that didn't work. What am I going to do now? How am I going to pick myself up and continue on?
Yep.
And
And
yeah,
I
it feels
find
like it's all uphill.
absolutely, absolutely. And I say this all the time. This is the only thing that people are gonna hear consistently from me. That me starting my podcast was a lifesaver for me because I did it for a very specific reason. I felt like my resume showed an old man, but my personality is anything but that. It's engaging, it's forward thinking, it's fun. And with a little filter, I look younger. So, I wanted to put a face to the story. Um,
And
but
by the way, I
then,
want to welcome Coach Carrie on because she's been sitting in the back in the wings there. I don't want to leave her
okay,
hanging.
I'm gonna check out.
No need to
But
check out, Bill. No need to check.
it's okay. I'll check out. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. Much love.
Well, before you check out, Bill, and what I wasn't suggesting, he checked out too fast. Hello, Coach Carrie.
Hi, how are you?
Wow, we got the audio and the visual.
Well,
It's
I
a
was on
special
Leslie's
day.
show this morning, so I'm actually, a little bit put together today. And so I'm excited to be here and to just say hi to your audience. Hey, y'all.
Yes. And I didn't get to say it to Bill. I'm going to just drop this now. I wasn't suggesting of dumping our personal stuff in a workplace environment. But what I am suggesting is don't pretend that you don't have personal challenges. It's okay, to like, hey, I can't really deal with this situation right now because I got some personal things that are weighing me down. So,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of times, I love this conversation. I had someone that wanted to be a guest on my podcast, and one of the things that was mentioned was like, you're kind of saying the same story over and over and over again. And it's like you said, is it performance? Is it content? Or is it really authenticity? And so my recommendation to that guest was, why don't I put you on later in the year when maybe there's a different story for us to tell, because we don't want it to just be content, 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 content. And people have real stories, right? People have real situations that they're sharing. And so I love that, there's adjustments and things that are happening in our lives, and we want to continue to share and tell those stories. At the same time, is it performative?
right,
What are we doing to make some adjustments, to make things better, to make things different, to grow? Have you read a new book, right? Did you take a new pathway? If you like to go out and take walks, maybe you went a new direction and you can add that to your story. So I just
right.
absolutely, I wanted to jump on and tell you that I love this conversation.
And it's like Bill said, because I've met with people that it feels very performed. Like the answers just they just fit nicely in the slots. And I have, it's like, no, I want I heard this from somebody else, authenticity. And I think the other thing is sometimes we have our stories and we've told them so many times that they become an identity trap. Right? Like, and I have to ask, have I actually moved past this in some way, even in the smallest way? Like, as Bill's, I know Bill's in the middle of it. He's still in the fire. For example. So he hasn't gotten past it, but he is making positive movement forward to get through it. And that's what I'm talking about. But I've heard so many stories. They sound rehearsed. They're repetitive. It's it doesn't feel like vulnerability anymore. It feels like a performance.
Absolutely. And I know even with my son, who's now 16 years old, I'll say, "Oh, let's watch this movie." And he's like, "Mom, we've seen that 10 times already." So it's like, he's like, "I don't want to see that movie again." Like, are they coming out with a part two, like part three, part four? Like what happens next? And I think sometimes we get caught up in the replay, of our own lives. And so we kind of tell the story that we're comfortable with. That's why I love your title so much. I said this before, identity disruptor. Disrupt that. Sometimes we have this identity and it just becomes a part of who we are, and we say the same thing over and over again. But I love that disruption, even for myself. I used to tell the same sad, sorry, silly story over and over again. I said, you know what? Let me grow some, okay? Because I'm tired of hearing myself. I was like, let me read a new book, all right? Let me have a new experience. And so now I have so many different, and we're so multifaceted as people. And I think even within my own personal challenges, I learned that I still had to grow. Don't stay in the storm. Let's get on the other side of it. And it's not always easy, but
No,
it's definitely doable.
right? And well, and one of my favorite sayings about, like you said, storm. I love this one. If you're going through hell, keep on going.
Hmm.
You might get out before the devil even knows you're there.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. Love that. Love that. And I saw Lisa and Jackie. I don't know if you saw them, but they just
Yeah,
popped up on my screen. I
and
know LinkedIn has all
showed up,
these delays and glitches.
and then LinkedIn just crashed out on me. So
Yeah. It's our favorite place, and then it's, what can you do? Listen, LinkedIn is a disruptor, okay? Even when you're on using their platform. But
yeah,
LinkedIn, to your point, LinkedIn is known. I hope you're hearing this, LinkedIn, hashtag LinkedIn, somebody. LinkedIn is known for crashing, right? And so now it's just kind of the story. We're going live. we know to drop our YouTube channel in the comment section because they're, it's tired. Come on now, LinkedIn, do something different. It's like, oh, LinkedIn is going to crash, LinkedIn is going to crash, LinkedIn is going to crash. Well, LinkedIn has to disrupt that identity pattern for itself so that we can start to tell a new story about our experiences on LinkedIn. And so I
Right.
think it's the platform, your platform of your life. If you keep telling that same story, sometimes people go other places to have conversations or
Right. It
go talk
becomes
to other
it becomes
people.
like the roads back when cars first, wagons
Hmm.
and cars, the ruts, right? You
Yeah.
get the ruts
Hmm.
in the road and
Hmm.
you get stuck. Like you can't get out of it. It happens in our life. You got to watch out for the ruts
Yeah. You
and
got to.
fill them back in when necessary so that you don't slip into them because it just. And I also think, I'm an 80s kid, so I think of the old days when we listened to vinyl and it would start skipping.
Hmm.
And that's kind of where my identity disruptor, because what did we do with the record when it skipped? We'd go over and we just give the record player a little tap so it could bounce back out of its scratch.
Hmm. Hmm.
That didn't work so well on CDs. Like I remember when CDs got scratched and they skipped, like bumping it didn't do any good.
No, that was
It
that
did
was
work
some
with
permanent
records.
damage.
Yeah, it did work with records. You could just give it a nice little bump in the right way. And I say the right way because if you did it wrong, you just created another scratch.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I see that with identities and with our patterns that we get stuck in. We get stuck in these loops. And my goal is to be that gentle nudge to get people out of that rut.
But I love what you said also, Sean, because there's the vinyl, there's the CD, and now we had the new little MP3 players that came out, and so there was ways that if you bumped, your song would skip to the next song, and now we have all this technology where you can say next song, repeat. You can just use your voice, and so in the same way that technology is advancing, you mentioned traveling and transportation. There's the horse and buggy, that we used to use, and now you can go on a first class jet. And I remember when I met my husband, we actually met online. And I saw we had this conversation with my dad, and I was like, we met online. And he said, well, I didn't expect you guys to meet, in a barn, with horse and buggy. And so things change, people change, situations change, and if you kind of get stuck where you are, sometimes you get left behind. So I think that disruption becomes important in a positive way, that we continue to make those adjustments and move forward. um
And
with
Leslie makes
Deborah
a great
herself, yeah.
comment there. Repetition is it's good because it does build faith. It builds learning and
Hmm.
positive habits, but it, as Leslie says, it can bring faith in what we want and faith in what we don't want.
Yeah.
Our job as human beings is to take the time to look at the repetition. Is it, as you said, growing me, or is it created a ceiling for me?
Yeah, absolutely. And so when we're dealing with those challenges, and I'll often talk about the reticular activation system, because what you focus on, that's what's going to expand. And so even in challenges, focus on where you want to get to. Leslie had a saying, I believe, see yourself, you're in the present, but you see yourself in the future that you want. And so I think that's just extremely important to move through challenges. And even if you're in a great space, maybe you want to get into a better space. And so seeing yourself where you want to go and focusing on that is exactly what Leslie just said. If you focus on what you don't want, that repetition, you see more of that. And if you focus on what you do want, through repetition, you're going to see of more of what you do want. But I'm going to yield the stage. I thank you for allowing me to be a guest. I just only camera on because I was just a guest on Leslie's show. But normally, Mondays is my chill day, Sean. So I'm happy that
I
I got to
appreciate
jump
that.
on and say hi to your
I'm
audience.
excited you were able to come up and share. Thank you, Coach Carey.
So I don't want to jump off in case there are any last minute questions, or am I good to go?
Well, I just wanted to add one thing because this discussion, I've been working on reorganizing my notes
Okay.
that I had in Notion, and something was brought to mind. I have two things. One, talking about the vision of what you want, who you want to be, and what you want to be in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So I have something I created that is my being document, and
Mm.
it's my it's like I am statements, right? Things like I am the author of Stronger Every Day and the voice behind Daily Power Boost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
True. Um, I coach from identity, not strategy. I don't fix, I ignite. I built that, and I don't even remember how long ago I built this. I need to renovate because it's a living document. But then I also was brought to mind my something I created called the Shawn Michael Manifesto. And it's a brief little statement that I wrote that is the vision of who I am. Doesn't mean I'm there today, but it's like the
Mm-hmm.
ideal version of me. So I have a few minutes. I can share it. You can stay on stage or you can
Yeah, go
drop.
ahead and
Your
share.
choice.
But as you're talking, I'm thinking about of course I have a 16-year-old son, so y'all know I've seen everything Marvel. Like we're a Marvel family. Some DC. But one of the things it reminds me of as you're talking is that metaverse where there were there was a Spider-Man in this era, a Spider-Man in this, all these different universes that merged together. And I think when I think about disrupting your identity and seeing yourself where you want to be, there's so many possibilities. So, as Sensei Fred Jordan says, live in your preferred existence. Like, if this is the existence that you want, live in your preferred existence. So, I'm excited to hear what you have written, and then I'm going to jump off because I need to reheat my little coffee.
So, as I said, it's the Shawn Michael Manifesto, the future
Hmm.
me I choose to become. I am not here to compete. I am here to wake the sleeping giants, starting with the one inside me. I will not shrink to make others comfortable. I will not wear success like armor or grind like it's penance. I will lead from alignment over ego, and I will burn every false identity that tells me I have to prove my worth to earn my place. I choose presence over pressure, conviction over convenience, legacy over likes. I do not coach to be admired. I coach to ignite, to rewire minds, rebuild confidence, and reclaim the truth buried beneath performance. My voice is a tool, not a trophy. My story is a bridge, not a brand. My scars are sacred, not necessarily secrets to be hidden. I will write books that disrupt mediocrity, host a podcast that punches past the noise, and stand on stages where truth cuts through conditioning. I will travel the world with my wife beside me, not waiting for me. I will raise a son who knows that love leads, discipline frees, and vulnerability, it's a strength. And I will build a life that whispers to the world, this is what it looks like when a man heals, rises, and leads. I'm not a prisoner of my past. I'm the architect of what's next. And I won't stop until my impact outlives me.
Love it, love it, love it. And as I exit the stage, I want to say I appreciate you sharing that with me. And if you allow me a little disruption in your identity as you expand your living document, I would encourage you maybe to consider focusing on all of your I ams. And as you develop your next version of self, the not statements, do you really want those in there? Because it's so powerful when you say, I am a bridge. You know, my show does this, my legacy is this. And just those statements alone are so powerful. And that's how I see you. And so I absolutely love that. I appreciate you sharing that with me. And thank you for allowing me some time to be on your show. I love your man. Now I got to go write me a manifesto. Okay.
It's powerful because, like,
It
going
is
back to
powerful.
it,
I don't have one. Now I need me a manifesto.
to go back and, revisit it and
Yes.
as a checkpoint, like, am I moving,
Mm-hmm.
and to create that magnetic, like Leslie teaches about that burning desire.
She's such a great teacher. I can't wait till Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time.
And,
Because I'm
one of
definitely
my
going to tune
mentors
in.
teaches that there's two types of motivation, right? There's push,
Mm-hmm.
which most people rely on, that avoidance of discomfort,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's pull motivation.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that draws you like a magnetic force. And when it's strong enough, as Hill taught us, nothing can stop you.
Love, love, love it. All right. Well, thank you. I really enjoyed your show today. I just jumped on because that topic really spoke to me. And so I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate everybody watching from the bleachers, including Lay over on YouTube. Thank you for joining. Let's see, can I drop this comment from Lay on there to wrap us up? Because I would agree, the older I get, it becomes easier to spot when I'm falling into the ruts. And I'm more, by seeing it, that's step one, right? Then we can take the action to change to get out of the ruts. And when possible, to clear the ruts so we don't fall back into them. Because I can envision the old Westerns of the wagons like trying to steer and stay out of the ruts, because if you fell in the ruts, it was over, because they hadn't, it was the wrong season, they hadn't fixed the roads yet. So thank you everyone for joining. I appreciate you being here, and I'm just going to get this ready. My little outro video, and share that with you. Thank you again. We'll talk to you all next Monday. Have a great week. Stay awesome and stay out of the ruts. Whoops. Okay, it's coming. It's coming. I just got to click the right buttons.
In the shadow of a mirror, where the past holds tight, he walks in with fire, igniting the night. A truth seeker's vision, he shines through the black. With every step forward, he won't look back, telling tales of struggle. The masks we wear, we're bound by the labels, lost in the snare. Time to break free.